Hi, I hope you'll stick around with me today and paint these poppies in a wooden crate. Today I'm using my St. Petersburg Classics watercolors. These are gorgeous watercolors. They're so creamy and delightful to work with. I'm also using my Intuition brushes. I have a size 6 flat, a size 6 round, and a size 3 round. I have my watercolor palette handy, 2 jars of water, one for rinsing my dirty brushes and one for actual painting. I have a clean cloth ready to dab any puddles or mistakes, and I have a 4x5 pre-cut piece of my 350 GSM watercolor paper. That's the paper I've purchased at Dollar Tree. Let's get started. So I think I'll start today by creating my crate, and I do not have a Payne's Gray with this palette, so I think what I'll use today is I think maybe today I'll start with raw umber. I know I've mentioned before that I don't always go in with a solid plan. Sometimes I have my rough plan kind of in my head, but I haven't really thought about colors necessarily or whatever. So I'm just taking my raw umber and I'm going to create these 3 strokes just all the way across, and sometimes I like to drag the pigment back to this side, but this little, I don't know what that's called when it just kind of pulls there and then kind of, I feel like it pushes back against the pigment and it kind of it creates just a watermark there, but that doesn't bother me. This is a weathered kind of crate, and you know, I think it's fine for it to do that. So you can drag the pigment back if you like or not, but I wanted this to be kind of a wide crate, so sometimes I make them a little taller and squattier maybe, but this I wanted to be a wide one because I really want most of my poppies to kind of grow upright. So I'm gonna switch my brush to my size 6 round, and in this palette I really just have the one red, and it's just red. So I'm gonna work with the red. That's what I'll be using. And it is a good red. It's a very good red for these poppies. And I have some other red on my palette. I don't have just a lot of extra room on this palette, so I'm kind of mixing with that. And I think that's gonna be just fine. So I want to go in with kind of plenty of water, and I'm just going to make these centerish things that I often make, but I want to have some thickness here and there. Have some just kind of sticking out up here. Oh gosh, poppies are so fun. I so easily get stuck on painting certain flowers, and I had previously been going through quite a sunflower phase. And so now I guess I'm kind of in this poppy phase. It's just fun. And I like for this to be somewhat triangular, you know, it's not it doesn't have to be, but I like it. Okay. And now I want to take my clean water and I'm dragging my brush off on the jar so that I don't have any surprise little pools, puddles form. And I'm just putting some water in these here and there. And, you know, I'm just, in doing that, I'm kind of touching the pigment that I've already put. I'm just kind of letting that pigment bleed somewhat, just very loosely. So fun. And I love this because then, you know, it's really easy to create these layers of petals. And some are light and some are darker. Just easy and, you know, really fairly effortless. Just so fun. Okay, love those. I'm gonna go ahead and create a little bit of shadow on these planks. Okay, so to do that, I want to use, I may just use a darker value of the raw umber that I was already using. And do love these paints. They just, they activate so readily. And so, you know, just the smallest amount of water and they're just ready to go. And they're very, very creamy. Okay, and you can tell that I'm not particularly trying to keep this awesome or steady. My hand is not super steady today. It often is not, and so I don't worry about that very much. I'd like to say I don't worry about it at all, but that would not be true. So I just try to like let myself off the hook about that. I think it's fine if everything is not perfect. So so that's where I am with that. So I want to use this green cane for my greens for this, and I may add a little bit of yellow, not sure, but I like this green cane. It's a really nice green. It's a good go-to. It, along with my olive, which in this palette does have a little yellow in it, but I like to have a good amount of this. I do feel like the olive in here is more yellow, maybe brown even, but it is maybe a little darker as well. So these poppies, I think they just tend to have a really straight stem, and I want these to appear like they are growing out of this crate. So I am kind of keeping these rather straight, and I think you could, you know, add some little detail to them. Like, they don't need to be stick straight, but they should go upward. Their trajectory should just be upward, in my opinion. At least that's what I'm doing. And listen, this is art. You can do something differently if you like. the little buds, I tend to do a little droopy. I'm not sure why. I know I have seen that, and so perhaps that's why, but I also just like it. Okay, and ordinarily I don't do a stem for everything, but this honestly kind of seemed like it needed that. So I don't know, that's what I've done. I also don't know that I love that I really did kind of center this, but I do feel like it will work out, and I'm just gonna stick with it. I will probably get some other things around there, is my guess. I'm gonna go in and just start some leaves in here. And I do these kind of, I feel like I do them differently every time, but they're kind of a spiky leaf, I think, and so I'm just kind of doing my best to kind of have that look. And I don't think that it has to be perfectly spiky. None of this has to be perfect. And obviously the smaller you go, the less detailed it really has to be. And I am still using my size 6, but obviously an option also would be to use a smaller brush. I've mentioned this before, I'm kind of lazy. I don't like to switch brushes very often. not if what I have is working. So that's just me. Okay, lots of leaves going on. Just lots of, lots of interest. Okay, just get a little more of that pigment. Oh, I like that. I like that it didn't quite join. I think that that's actually a nice look there. Kind of just is a little less than perfect, and yet I feel like it adds a little something. It has a little more character there. So I may try to do some things like that on purpose. Okay, and now I'm just adding some little, just some interest, I guess. Let's give these some other little greeneries. Oh, cute. I am going to figure out what to do up here. Okay, I love this. Oh my gosh. I hope people don't get sick of me saying that, but I just think, look, this world is tough, and sometimes, there aren't enough people finding joy in the things that we find joy in, and that's okay. But we ought to be able to celebrate ourselves, and when we like something, we ought to be able to just like it unapologetically. So that's what I'm doing today. I am just unapologetically loving this. I'm not disliking that quite as much. And honestly, I think I might be able to offset it, make myself a little more comfortable by just adding another little bud to the left of it maybe. I could add it over here, which seems like a good spot because it's kind of empty, but then I feel like it'll make it a little too matchy. And so I'm just thinking if I maybe put one right here. I don't know. I have uncertainty. So I think instead I will just make some background poppy right there. Just kind of coming out behind this leaf. And then maybe something right here. Okay, a little more pigment on that. Then I'm going to come back with some water and just kind of loosen that up a little. Oh, I love these. They are so fun. Love it. Love, love, love. Okay. Want to go in with just maybe a tiny bit more detail on these poppies. Just another layer, really, of petals. I do not want to overdo this, and that is one of those things I can easily do. And, you know, you overdo it, you end up kind of losing some of that, some of the magic of it. But I just want to add some little petals in, some depth there. I'm using the same red, just you know, pretty good value of it. And then, you know, if you think you've overdone it a little, just add some more water there. Or dab it with your cloth. Here, keep a paper towel, or I keep just a washcloth handy for that. I love these. And again, you know, you could use a different brush. You could use a smaller one, but I find I'm just pleased as punch with this size 6, so I'm sticking with it. But you do you. Use what you like. So fun. And these are just, you know, they're just more layers in there, so you can even make some of those kind of slashes, things that look like a curved over petal. Not worried about making these super understandable necessarily. They don't have to make the most sense. They make sense to you. And I'm not going for realism, although you certainly can. Oh, I love that. I'm going to give that a few moments to dry, I think. I'm going to look and just see if there's anywhere that I feel I could soften. A little bit of water, just adding some water in there and letting the pigment bleed. I don't necessarily think that, you know, it had to have that, but I knew I could add a few more layers doing that, and I kind of like it. But I think I want to go in and just kind of add my shadow, and to do that I want to kind of slant this shadow, so I'm going to take my water across and just kind of soften it, taper it off there, kind of like a little shadow peeking out behind too. And then I'm just going to use that same raw umber. Just drag that across the base, and then, you know, a little bit of blending. I like it. That works for me. And sometimes I think with that shadow, you could make it a little bigger. You could even put some of, you know, some of the red, just a hint of that maybe in there. I think you could definitely do that. Trying to adjust my other camera here. I think I'll just slide this over just a little. Okay. I love those, and I think my reds are dry enough to start adding the black in. And I think one more thing I'd like to do is just take a little bit of water along in between this, so just where I have the white, just kind of mute that and create a little bit of, just a little bit more shadow in there, I think. And I think additionally you could, just depending on what you want to do, you could make your, you know, vegetation visible in there. I don't really see myself doing that, so I'm leaving this, but I think that definitely could be an option. And I'm using a little clean water, just trying to buff this in a little. But I also don't want to get stressed out about it. I don't think it is a worrisome thing. And I think I probably need a few little nail holes. Now, I think you could add lines, you know, for your wood. I am not the best at that. I never really care for it when I'm done. So I'm not doing that. My planks don't have green. I just don't love it. So you do what you like. And if you like that and want to do that, you have your permission as well as mine. Fun, cute. I like that. I'm happy with that. I'm going to go in and add some dotty black centers. Now I am going to switch my brush for this. This is one of those things that I know I'll be less than happy if I use my bigger brush. So I'm going with my black, and I'm just going to dot around some of these centers. I am not going for perfection. I'm not trying to make necessarily perfectly round centers or any such. I do want to kind of keep an eye on how my flower is angled maybe, and kind of work with that. I certainly don't want to work against that. And so just kind of figuring out where those centers would be, because I tend not to make my centers look centered as far as the viewer, but centered on what direction the flower is going and how it's positioned. So, you know, sometimes that means that center is going to be higher up, but it's because it's, you know, it's really higher on the back side of that flower or whatever. So I don't know if that really makes sense, but that's how I do that. And I'm just dotting these in. I'm leaving a bit, you know, a bit of the white and red, but I'm also dotting in some of that. I like these edges to be really imperfect. Gosh, I just love it when I get to this point. The centers really make these flowers. And I suppose you could add some yellow. I just usually don't, but I definitely think you could. Now you'd want to be careful, the black and the yellow, so I'd add the yellow first. But super fun. And this would make such a great card, you know, just some little cheerful thing. I think you could make something like this and frame it. It would make a lovely gift. I plan to do some of these in a gift tag size. And I have my round punch, and I will probably make some round ones because I'm pretty much obsessed now, and this is kind of all I want to paint forever. But again, that's me. That's what I do. So, and I just think that I've got kind of some areas that are kind of bare there, and I want to get some depth in there. I also am not loving how dark this leaf is right here. I don't love the placement either, but we've already talked about that. I didn't love placing that bud in the center, but I am just adding some water to that, and see how easy that was to kind of dab out of there. I honestly think that I could go in with I may do that just one more time. Again, I'm just taking my cleanly rinsed brush. I'm kind of brushing some water on that. Super easy. I'm not even really scrubbing at it or anything like that. Taking my clean cloth and just pressing that out. And it just lifted it so easily. But I feel like I can work that into the rest of that flower. And I think that that will be better. I think, you know, just as far as the composition of it, I think that that's going to be a whole lot nicer. So that's what I'm doing there. And I love it much better. I don't mind the green in there. I don't think it's a problem. So I'm not going to overwork it. Not at all. I'm not concerned about it. But then as that's drying, I just do want to put a little more green up here. I think I could use just a little more. Just want to be very careful not to overdo it. That's one of the things I very easily do. And I'm using just a very muted amount of pigment. Just you know, not a ton. Yeah, I like that. I think that that works well. Okay, I love it. A few little light leaves kind of coming out of the background, just here and there. Don't want to overdo those. Can you tell I feel like I've overdone my leaves a whole lot? So yeah, trauma. Okay, I feel like I'm pretty happy with that. I think I should add, I just feel like I should add a couple of those leaves over here somewhere, but I'm struggling to figure out where. You know, I don't like to do matchy. Don't want it to be so symmetric. And that works. It's a little darker than the others, but only barely, and I think it works. And just little bits, just little touches. Okay. Yeah, I like it. All right, cute. Love, love. This doesn't bother me at all. It's the tiniest bit muddier than the other flowers. I don't care at all. I don't even care a little bit. So there's my view on that. In case you were worried about me. Don't worry. I'm fine. Alrighty. I love it. I'm happy with it. I'm gonna call that finished. I hope that you love it and are happy with what you've painted. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial today. And if you weren't able to paint it, save it for later, paint it, let me know how it goes. And as always, happy painting.